welcome to the first real episode of Blue Family Unity. I am your host, Elsa Kurt. You may have heard the pre-game warm-up show that I did, and that was really just to test out the equipment and all that fun stuff before we did a real episode. Although I guess if I posted the episode, that makes it real, doesn't it? But anyhow, this is the very first one, and I feel like it's probably a good idea to tell you where all of this came from and why I'm doing this. I am a very vocal, sometimes snarky, pro-police advocate, and the biggest reason for that is because I am married to a police officer. We've been together for nearly 14 years, and in that time, I've had the good fortune to discover all that is good and all of what is not so good about police family life. And I've been really, really lucky to have a partner who embraces and appreciates my involvement. And he is actually, side note, he's the reason I became an author. He was the motivating force behind my law enforcement advocacy. And kind of proud to say that he's my biggest fan. So I'm a pretty lucky ducky. That's probably an understatement. That's definitely an understatement. I am well aware of how fortunate I am and how fortunate we are to be at this phase of our life and to be on this journey together. It's a rare treasure in this world to find someone that you feel that way about and consistently feel that way about. So we're pretty lucky. I thought that it was only fitting to invite my husband as the very first guest on the show. So he, I don't want to say reluctantly agreed, he cautiously agreed. This is not really his lane. He doesn't really do the social media stuff. He's got like a Facebook account, and I'm pretty sure that's about it. I think he signed up for Instagram, and I don't know if he's ever even gone on the app other than to sign up for it. But he's kind of a private guy, you know. He's not really the one to be doing this kind of crazy stuff that I do. He lets this be my lane. He's got his lane, I've got my lane, and somehow it all works pretty perfectly. But somehow I conned him into coming onto the show tonight. So this is going to be a lot of fun for me to watch him be in the hot seat, I guess you would call it. But I've already told him. This is not going to be like a stressful interview. This is just us hanging out and talking like we usually do. We have a Friday night date night that we do. And we don't really call it that, but just for the sake of explaining it, that's what we're calling it. We're not like the people that sit there and go, okay, it's time for our Friday night date night. We just, you know, we like to go out to eat and have some cocktails and just kind of catch up on the week. You know, the week, everybody's week is busy. You're caught up with all your stuff, your work life, all your stuff and things, and you're tired at the end of the day. Well, I won't speak for anybody else. I think that's pretty accurate though, right? But we are, you know, we're tired at the end of the day, and the conversation during the week kind of lags a little bit. So this is our, you know, our Friday nights is our catch-up time where we just kind of catch up on all of the things that are going on and that we're thinking, we're feeling, all the stuff. So I suggested to him that he tried thinking of this like that, and I even offered to make him a cocktail. So I did make him one. I don't know if he's going to have it or not. We'll see. He might not. He might want to have his wits about him entirely as I grill him. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to grill him. He's not going to get grilled here. This is just going to be a really fun conversation. And I have questions lined up for him and everything. It's going to be really, really fun. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I did give him the questions in advance because I don't want to be unawares. I don't want him to be caught off guard. You know, I don't want to put him on the spot. He's my buddy. He's my pal. So I'm not going to put him on the spot. The best part about this for him, and for me too, who am I kidding, is that I get to go in and edit all of this before you listen to it. So if there's anything I don't want you to hear, it's gone. You'll never know unless I tell you. And I do throw myself under the bus pretty often, so it wouldn't be too much of a surprise if I do that. But I've kept you waiting long enough, haven't I? I've yapped on for, let's see, how long has it been? Oh, come on, it hasn't even been that long. Looks like it's just over 5 minutes. I can keep talking. I should, shouldn't I? No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that to you. So without further ado, I'm going to get my husband in here into the studio, and we're going to have a nice little chat. So stay tuned for that. All right, as promised, I brought in the husband. He is not thrilled. He is not excited. He's very uncomfortable right now. So first off, hi, honey.
Hello.
Thanks.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
Yeah? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, sure I am. Absolutely.
Okay, so this is pretty different, right? We've never done anything like this before.
Correct.
I have never interviewed you. So I've never interviewed you, right? This is the first time ever. You've never interviewed me, correct?
Correct.
So this is really weird. Actually, you can count when we went on our first date, right? That was kind of like an interview.
Informal.
Yeah.
But very conscious of it, though.
Yeah. We were both nervous. I was nervous.
You were nervous, definitely.
You're not going to admit that you were nervous?
No.
You were a little bit nervous. You had to be.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Really?
Sorry.
Wow. Well,
No.
I was nervous until I had like 3 glasses of wine before you showed up. And then,
Well,
then I was okay.
I knew you were uptight when you lost the plate. And it fell on the floor and crashed.
How did I know you were going to tell that story? Go ahead. Go ahead. Who's going to tell it? You're going to tell it or I'm going to tell it?
You can tell it.
I can tell it? All right. So I'll tell it. So as I might have mentioned, I had a couple cocktails before you shut up because, like I said, I was nervous. We were having a nice conversation, and I was having, what was I having? Shrimp cocktail. I had a nice, those big jumbo shrimp cocktails, and I was cutting them, and I was telling a story. And I talk with my hands. I'm not Italian, but I talk with my hands. And as I was telling the story, I'd cut some of the shrimp, and then I'd take a bite, and then I'd talk again. Well, the whole time, as I'm talking, the plate is inching closer towards me to the edge of the table. And we're at one of those bar height tables. So, and he's just watching me, by the way. He's not saying a word. You didn't say a word. Can we pause for a second in this story and acknowledge the fact that you did not say a word about the...
Did not.
Did
not.
Okay, all right. So, so anyhow, the obvious happened. The plate fell. Hand to God, the plate fell in slow motion. It was like every movie you see in every, rom-com, the plate like just tumbled and it spun around like in circles and it shattered on the floor, and we both watched the plate fall, and we both looked up at, I'm guessing, probably the same time, and I had to confess to him the absolute truth, which was shit like that happens all the time with me. And we kind of just moved on. And I know what you think, but they don't know what you thought at that moment. So what did you think? I don't even know if I remember what you thought at that moment. What did you think at that magical moment of my grace?
I just thought it was funny, and it was relaxing, even though it was nervous for you and nerve-wracking. I was fine. Obviously, I was curious and wanted to know more about you, so here we are 13 years later.
Were you really impressed with me at that point? Did you think I was drunk? Did you
Yes,
know?
yeah.
You knew. The other part of that story is that I was almost on a constant basis, like every time you walked away or turned away for any reason, or if you went up to the bar to get another drink for us, I was texting or calling. It was like texting or calling her. I think it was calling.
Maybe both. I don't really know.
So I was calling.
Until that one time.
Yeah, until you caught me. Until you like flat out caught me, right? I was texting my best friend. I was letting her know like every step of the way of this date, because it was it was basically a blind date. We'd only had email exchanges
Correct.
to that point.
Yep.
And so it was our very first meeting. So I kept calling her or texting her, whatever it was. I don't remember anymore. It was so long ago now. What I didn't notice was that there was like a full-length mirror behind the bar. So every time he went up to the bar, and we were at the tables like adjacent to the bar, basically, is that right? And he could see me calling her. So every time he walked away, he could see that I was, you know, through the mirror, he could see that that's what I was doing, that I was calling a friend. And I don't remember what point you ever said anything. Did you say something there or at the next place? I don't remember.
I don't really know, but I thought it was fine, actually.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it was fine in light of the real world and things that go on. I was totally cool with it.
Yeah, that was the nice part. He actually appreciated that I was not, you didn't think I was some dipshit that was going to trust any guy, right?
Right, and that was fine. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely fine.
So which is important, ladies. Any ladies here that are of dating age and listening to this, that, you know, if you go out on a date with a guy and he's got a problem with you checking in with your girlfriends or your, you know, family member or whoever, yeah, you got to get rid of him really quick. You want a guy like this who is totally cool with that and, you know, even basically encourages it for your own safety. So just a little tip. So we had a great night that night. It was a lot of fun. And I already knew that I liked you. Did you already know? You knew you liked me. You wanted to see me again.
Yeah, absolutely, which we did.
Yeah. Do you think you fell in love with me at that first?
No.
I wish you could see his face right now. The look of blank horror. Yeah. So no, huh? You weren't.
I think you can imagine yourselves together, but you have to get there. It's a process.
Yeah. Yeah, I already had our babies' names picked out. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I was well past baby age. I swear to God, I'm kidding. But I really did. I was very smitten with you. What did I keep saying? He knows all these stories. Of course, we know each other's stories about our meetings. I have more stories. You don't have any stories.
Well, none I'm going to share.
Yes. Well, he was, I'll tell you one of his stories. If you listen to the first episode, the pre-show show, I talked a little bit about how Paul and I met, and that was on Match.com. And we both, you know, it was we were very open. Of course, we both said that, you know, we had met other people prior to each other and kind of told the horror stories of our dates, or they weren't even necessarily horror stories. There was like, we each had probably one respective story of somebody who was a little wacky. Somebody that I had gone on a couple of dates with, so you know this part, so this isn't a surprise for you. He knew this guy, whose name I can't even remember. He knew that I liked Lindsey Buckingham, you know, from Fleetwood Mac. And so he surprised me with tickets to go see him, who have a similar story, which is pretty funny. Mm-hmm. He got tickets to go see Lindsey Buckingham, who was, you know, touring at that point, solo, which was like a really big deal to me. But the catch of that was, I don't remember what month it is, so I'm going to have to make up a month. We'll say it was like April that I had met this guy. And the concert wasn't until like August or something. So that was like serious pre-planning for a Match.com date. So that was kind of crazy. But at the same time, Paul, was seeing somebody, and she had tickets to, what was it?
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, yeah. Tickets to Earth, Wind, and Fire. So we both blew off these people and these concerts that we both respectively wanted to go to for each other. Do you think those people hate us?
Technically, we did do that, yes.
Yep. I don't know, that was a funny answer. Do you think that was a funny answer? He said, technically we did. I bet he handled it nicer than I did. He's a nicer person than I am. This isn't a surprise. We've already established this a long time ago. He is the nice one. I'm the mean one. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. You didn't have to answer. That's like the fastest he's answered one of these questions. Did you notice that? He couldn't answer that damn question fast enough.
Sorry.
All right, so let's see. So I have notes, and I have to look at my notes, because otherwise I'm just going to start rambling, and we'll just talk about bullshit, and I'll forget that you guys are going to be listening to this, and I'll have so much editing to do, and that'll suck. So I have to look at my notes here. And, okay, so we already talked about, oh, no, we didn't talk about this. I said before you came out, I said, I told you already that we were going to just pretend like this is a date night. This is our date night. We have pretend sushi in front of us. There's no sushi. We do have cocktails. So this is just going to be a nice, fun conversation. So you have to pretend that there isn't a microphone smack in front of your face.
All right.
You can do that? All right, cool. All right, so now let's see. I already asked this question. I asked you already if you knew that you were instantly in love with me. So I'm going to answer that one for you since you answered wrong. And the answer for that is yes, of course he did.
Great answer.
Yes, that's what I thought. I knew that was what you meant. Mm-hmm. So, so let's talk about the time, well, the first time when you told me that you were a cop. And it was through the email exchange.
Yes.
Right? We had gone back and forth a few times. And we were having great conversations. And we had, of course, we both had little dogs. And we both have an affection for Elvis Presley. So, I mean, that's winning right there. All the way, right there. So we were having these great exchanges. And then it came time to talk about meeting up for the first time. And you said that you basically warned me. You said, I just want you to know that I'm a police officer, and if that's a problem for you, that you would understand. So, and you and his profile had nothing, no identifiers, nothing on Match.com to show that he was a police officer. This was a surprise. I had no idea. And for me, I had no prior experience. I never dated a police officer, never dated a first responder. I don't have any in my family. So this was, you know, a completely foreign world to me. So you telling me that you were a police officer, had you ever, prior to me, told someone that and they said, okay, yeah, thanks for letting me know, I'm out, I'm not interested? Had that ever happened to you?
So let's start at the beginning. This was Match.com. It was before all the apps that are available today. And if some of those apps were available, I wasn't aware of it after coming off a long-term relationship where none of that stuff was relevant to me at the time. This is what I chose to do. So I signed up for that. I didn't really know how to go about all of this, being about 40 years old at the time.
Oh, yeah,
maybe a couple of years older, and trying to figure out life and what the next step is. So I didn't want anyone to have an opinion one way or the other about police officers. I wanted it to be about myself and that person of interest. So I didn't post anything that said anything about that at all. But I always knew I would say something as communication increased and we were about to get to know each other more.
I always liked that, actually. I always liked that part of our story, that we met, like our meeting was so, I think you used the word pure. Like we didn't have any people in common. We didn't have any overlap of anything else in our lives. We were just two people who met each other on like really neutral terms, you know, so there was no preconceived notion about anything. But for me, about you, I don't know what my reaction, like I don't know how I would have reacted knowing right off the bat that you were a police officer. That was the moment that I realized that this is for real, and I have two young kids who were equally smitten with you in, you know, in that kid way. They, you know, just pretty much adored you from the moment they met you. And that's a story in itself, of course.
Sure
those, you know, those stinkers. So when we started dating, I kind of had a rule about dating life that no one was going to meet my kids unless it was serious. So that's a pretty typical rule that, you know, people have when they're dating, when they have kids. And my kids, I did not hide the fact that I was dating. I just, you know, I was pretty open about it, that they weren't going to meet him unless I knew it was serious. And they had different plans. So my older daughter, our teenager, ambushed us one night. She was supposed to be over a girlfriend's house for a sleepover, and Paul and I were going to a party in the neighborhood, in my neighborhood, and she literally came out of the bushes with her little friend and just ran up at us, and poor Paul was shell-shocked, but totally cool, but a little shocked. And she ran up and she said, you know, she introduced herself, and Paul, being the gentleman that he is, put his hand out to shake her hand and greet her. And my fresh kid said, what'd she say? She said, oh,
we don't shake hands, we give hugs.
Yeah, yes. Yep, we don't shake hands, we give hugs. And my brazen child hugged my new boyfriend. And yeah, so that was how she met. And then how he met our second daughter is actually awful. we were going away for a trip, and the day that we were to leave, one of our small dogs got hit by a car. And that was when and how he met the younger one. So both very, very strong impressions right off the bat, which is typical. This is, you know, of course, this is a perfect example of how us three hurricanes are, right? I think that's probably a good way to describe us.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. My poor husband really just walked into a shitstorm of female hormones and craziness. He's got a teenager and a preteen, and he did not have children, biological children. So this was pure madness to introduce this poor man to, and you were abso-fucking-lutely amazing. Just amazing. So I could talk for hours about all of the things that I could say about how you were and are as a parental figure to the girls. But I want you to talk a little bit about your feelings and your process with that, of how you decided that you were going to do this.
I think we had already discussed through Match.com and our few meetings about the kids. They actually existed. They are real. Ultimately, their biological father ended up living 1,500 miles away in Florida and was not there for the day-to-day. So I think when you step into that situation, you have to always remember you're not just involved with mom. Now you are involved with the kids. Mm-hmm. It's inevitable. You can't avoid it, even if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. You can't separate the children from the adult.
Right.
So I was aware of that going in. Unfortunately, I'm a product of parental divorce. Mm-hmm. I lived that experience.
Young. You were very young.
And I was young, and I had a great stepfather whom I learned from. I've said this before, his biggest attribute was inclusiveness. Mm-hmm. I was always part of it, and he understood, you don't just date my mom, mm-hmm. you own me too. Yep. And we're together, and that's the way it is. And it was like that for probably 3 decades before my mom passed away.
Right. Yep.
So
Tony's a great guy.
I knew that, and I accepted that, and I liked it, and it was instinctual for me. Mm-hmm. The kids were also at a great age where
they were receptive.
Yeah. They kind of understood what was going on in their lives with mm-hmm. their own father and mother.
Yep.
There was distance between your divorce and me.
Right.
So there's no negative connotations or connection there. Mm-hmm. And we developed a friendship.
Right.
The children and I.
Yeah.
And I've told them many a time, I will be the person you need me to be. If you need me to be the father, that's great. You need me to cheer you on at your sporting events, which is what I did. That's also great. I ended up going to guidance counselors as they were ready to graduate and having those meetings and doing different things and getting them prepped for the next step. Mm-hmm. And I accepted it all. And they also filled a great void in my life because I did not have children for a particular reason or two in my previous marriage. So they actually filled a void for me. Mm-hmm. And here we are 13 years later, one big happy family.
Yeah. They actually, and I'm a little insulted because it happened pretty early on, very quickly, that the girls would gravitate to Paul to confide in, when they had problems or issues or, anything going on. They would go running to him, and, probably because he is the more calm one of all of us. He has much better reactions than I do to things. But I have to tell one of my favorite stories, the basketball story. Which one I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So our younger daughter was playing basketball. She was on a basketball team, like Parks and Rec. I think everybody has Parks and Rec. I don't really know. Town sport. It was like their little playoff game. And she was, I don't know, what was she, like 11, 12 maybe? Something around there. Yep. And we were getting to so you're going to laugh at me because I don't know basketball. It's by fourth quarter, right? That's the fourth quarter. That's how basketball is. Okay, so they got into the fourth quarter. She started not feeling well, so she had to sit out for the fourth quarter, and the game was really close, and they ended up losing. And she was just devastated, just absolutely devastated. And she, like she has in the past for a lot of emotional things, she beelined for Paul. And that in itself, of course, is just so sweet and endearing. And I loved that she felt that.